Hello everyone, it's me and I'll be explaining how multimedia is used to meet business objectives. So for this task or for this presentation, I'll be explaining the benefits of using multimedia to meet business objectives. And the points I'll cover will include multimedia types, business requirements, business objectives, and audiences. So what is multimedia design? So multimedia is used to create different types of media such as text, audio, video, graphics, and animation features. In a variety of ways, they can be presented to an audience. So you do need like a multimedia product to be able to present your basically your vision or perspective of things to an audience. So multimedia can be accessed through a computer system or an electronic device. Applications are not the only thing which can be considered as multimedia. There are some devices like a printer or scanner which are also used for multimedia purposes. The applications are not the only thing. You can access multimedia through applications, but there's also, and you can also create your multimedia or produce multimedia through devices like printers and scanners, and you can produce your own text, and you can produce different types of audio. Basically, you can use many things to create a multimedia design. It doesn't have to be just about media itself. It could be sound, as I said, audio, video, and you can have different graphics for things. There's apps you can find that can help you create your multimedia product. So multimedia types, sound and animation. So to put that together is to create a cartoon or 3D animation with sound for advertising purposes. And there could be also music could be used in the background. So if you have animation, basically it can take if you're supposed to produce it within a short time, it can take a long time, especially if you're working with 3D animation, which takes like near years on end to be able to make or to be able to produce, basically, because you do need to plan it out and you need to animate every part of the animation. And cartoons are, they can take time, but not as long as 3D animation and stop motion. And you need to get every shot right, because you have to animate every shot and every movement within a frame. And it can be for TV, film, music, videos as well, because you see like animated music videos too. So sound, you can add music if you like, but you don't have to. But you need to choose wisely what type of music you want to use or what fits with the the product you're trying to produce, basically. So without any sound, it would be boring. Meaning people won't be interested and will not want to watch it. So it will turn people off if you don't have sound, and it can make an audience seem confused by what you're trying to address. So sound is used for bringing out the type of message to make people understand what the content is about. So having sound is very important. So you need to be able to bring the message across and to be able to allow the audience to think what you're trying to think or what they want you to think. But they do have, it depends what message you're trying to portray. And music, sound is always a good indicator for driving narrative forward, because without sound, you can't give a message across. You can't And music is very important as well because you do need to. Music's very important because without it, you can't. We won't understand what the characters. You could understand the characters' feeling, but the music can help with that as an indicator or maybe like a backup thing, alternative method or alternative medium for that. And businesses would have to come up with the most suitable sound to fit with the animation that's created. So basically, businesses would need a sound, good music. So, like I said, music is very important, but you need to find which one is right. So, if your character is feeling depressed, you do need like slow sound music. But if it's very up and somber type of sound, and if it's a character being happy, you do need uplifting, very maybe loud or joyful music, basically uplifting music. I would say. So sound is always important for driving the narrative forward and for giving some sort of narrative to the story because it does drive the plot forward or could introduce new things that can happen in a plot. So still and moving images. So with still and moving images could create an animation which could go with it in order to meet business objectives. But at the moment, moving images are much better to use as they can project better when you are watching a movie as it can help people relate to them. So it's good that moving images are used to basically get people's understanding. I think again it's kind of similar to what I said about the sound. Like it allows people to understand or get the character's action. So you know what the action, why the character's doing that particular action, basically. And still images are ideal but not always useful. Unless if it's needed. Unless you want to add it or you think it's an element that would fit in with your film. Like if you're creating a documentary that's going to have images in it or narration, voiceover narration, and you want to add images, then you could use that element. That will be a suitable element for it. So still images do not help an audience to understand and relate to it, but they can make an audience be engaged. Like if there's a funny or an amusing picture that would fascinate them. So you only need, like I said, you only need still images for a certain purpose if you're going to use it for a certain purpose. As so, this can help the audience remember it as a memory in their mind and can meet business objectives because the audience would know what it is and if it is intriguing. So it needs to stick into your audience mind. If you have a weird or strange image that you've never seen before, that's going to make an audience memorize that image more than having a very mundane image that we've all seen before. So, business requirements, so you need to have a target audience for that in order to sell your product or to market your product or market your film or TV show or video or graphics, whatever you're trying to produce, basically. So, when business advertises themselves to the market, they need to have a target audience so it will be easier when the business is editing and producing adverts. For example, if it's for children, you need to have a certain design which is bold, bright, and colourful. So you need to draw people in and you need to produce the exact content that is required for your target audience. Because your target audience, it's always good to have a target audience wherever you're doing. Because any creative medium that you're specializing in, you need to have a target audience and you need to think clearly what the target audience is. Because if you don't have a target audience, it can lose people and people might get confused. Saying, why don't you have a target audience? And it won't, plus your product won't sell well, or the film or the show or anything won't sell well if you don't have a target audience. So businesses need to make sure they do not confuse their audiences. So platform is a type of place where businesses could decide whether they would want to advertise their products or promotion on TV, billboards, the internet, and newspapers. To advertisement, having a platform is very important because you need to. It will draw people in and it will make people want to look at it and check it out. Maybe do research or something. If you have a platform to build it on, so a business should decide a suitable way to advertise their product or promotion. So you need to think about what strategy you're going to use to advertise. And you can use social media as well, because social media is very good for advertising, especially Facebook and Instagram, because they're very good social media platforms for that. And it's particularly Facebook because I more or less see people do it on Facebook. Maybe I've seen Instagram as well, but Facebook's more or less the social media platform you can use for advertising your brand or product and to be able to promote yourself to a wider audience. And LinkedIn is good for one's profile, basically, to be able to sell yourself as a person. But that's nothing to do with a platform. So all types of platform come up with advantage advantage and disadvantage of using it. So, for example, it wouldn't be suitable for a business to advertise on the internet for old people, which is the reason why you should consider looking at the target audience. So old people don't normally go on the internet. So you can't advertise. If you're aiming if your target audience is for old people, you need to find ways old people would be able to see your product that you're trying to promote. So this purpose. So media multimedia does not only have one purpose, but it has many purposes. Like on a mobile phone device, you can almost do anything with it by pressing a few buttons. Like if you want to your shopping, add up your shopping, you use a calculator. Or if you're bored, you can connect. You can use the internet by connecting it to your Wi-Fi device. So there are a lot of games and apps where you could access and use different purposes such as entertainment. So basically you have your own. So the purpose of using or watching the program needs to be set basically because you want to draw people in, and having multimedia is always good for accessibility because people want to access your device through want to watch your product or watch the program that you've made, and using a device that could help with that is key for drawing people in. Could be used for entertainment purposes or be used for work, professional side of things. So there's a reason why a product is used. The reason why you need to market yourself well. So promotion and advertising. So websites are always used by businesses to advertise their business and to see what they could offer to their customers. So usually this is the best way they could get promoted in order to become more global and productive for people, meaning they would be a well-known business. So lots of brands use websites, have their own websites to be able to promote themselves or to be able to people could find them on the websites and they will become like an instant global success. So like shopping websites, for example, Amazon or Wish, these websites, they're both online retailers. So that's how people are able to find out more about them because they're online and people use their services like nearly all the time. I think it's millions of people shop online. So that's how you can get your market out there. Digital posters are adverts which keep changing to show different posters in one slide. But it's a bit like a slideshow basically. And you've seen them when you walk, when you're going to on a bus stop sign, when you're waiting for the bus, or if you see it on as a billboard, because there's billboards that have these large screens that could show different adverts of different products that the brand wants to sell, different brands. So you normally see this at a bus stop, and it usually does it when it launches to new things. Virtual tours are a type of software that would allow users to use their computer to tour around the house or street. For example, there's Google Earth, a business. You could use it to help them feel like new. So you can have virtual tours. You don't have to physically go to a museum because some museums apparently do virtual tours. Like, for example, if you went to the British Museum, for example, I'm giving an example. I'm not saying they may or may not have a virtual tour. You can tour every room and you can check out what the museum looks like. So you get to see them, what they're about, basically, if you're touring around. And how many floors there are, how big is the building, how many rooms and artifacts they have, you know, because they're a museum, so I'm going to say artifacts. And some galleries have it as well, like maybe the Tate Modern, for example, has a lot of rooms and you can have a virtual tour online. And you have Google Maps is a virtual tour. You can switch it to street mode as well. So I sometimes go on Google Maps, especially on street mode. It's kind of weird, but I really like it as well. Virtual tours, so education and training, so simulations. So these are companies which now offer the use of simulations when you can get 3D view for transport, such as driving cars, bikes, and airplanes. They are now becoming more and more popular as they are realistic so users can use it to look at the real thing more closely. Well, I haven't really. They are becoming popular because you could see them in a more different way, like light basically. And I think Google does it as well. I can't remember. And they had the simulation thing. And on Google, you could see a tiger or a dog. More, there's a 3D image of a tiger, Bengal tiger, or that I want. I was on it yesterday, and you can go on Google now to see like a 3D image of a tiger, and it moves like a real tiger basically. And I saw like a Pomeranian dog online as well. I saw a few of them. You could search when you search for an animal, it comes up. So e-learning packages. This is a new way of learning something new, and there are a variety of ways that could be done by going online or having lessons on the specific subjects on the CD. So nowadays, I think they're becoming more popular because of the pandemic. So people are learning from their homes, and there are apps which you can use for e-learning as well. And your university, college, or school may have an e-learning package as well. So this could help people who cannot go to school or college to gain knowledge for themselves in the future. So you can use this as a way of educating, gaining your education or understanding something new. For instance, you don't have to be homeschooled to use that. You can use it anytime you like. So, for instance, I would say like learning a new language. If you're trying to learn, if you want to go to a country that you've never been to before, and you have to learn, and you want to learn their language, and that's one way of doing it. So I'm just giving an example. So it's a good tool for revision and for making it fun and proactive for students so they can learn differently with some understanding. So you don't want to keep using the book all the time because it gets boring after a while, because I don't really like using books anyway for learning, because they can be time consuming, and you're just reading, it's like you're reading the same text over and over again and you're not really gaining understanding. People do understand more through these e-learning packages rather than books, which I tend to do. I tend to understand through that as well, rather than using books. Sometimes I like using books, but there are Google Books as well. You can go on Google Books, and there's one, I think there's a website that you can access through. I think it's Wiley, and there's another one, Jester. I think they're both online books that you can use. There's more, but I'm not 100% certain. You can use Amazon Kindle, for example, is another one of this. You can listen to Audible, basically. You can listen to your reading. When you read, you tend to listen to the text, and there's a narrator reading the text to you rather than you trying to trying to read the book yourself and look at the text, which I'd rather do. I'd rather listen to the text a bit more because it's very relaxing as well. I've never used Kindle, but you can find different apps that are alternative to it. So entertainment and leisure. So computer games are good for advertising a business product, and it could be aimed at different types of audiences, such as kids, teenagers, or maybe young adults. Or some older people play video games, but it's a rare target audience. So companies can advertise their games for gamers online, so they could click on the actual post itself and it would lead them to sign up and start playing the game. So there are websites that you could access to play video games. And there's an app which you could stream other gamers. I think it's called Twitch because my friend uses it. I have a few friends that play video games, but I don't play video games myself because you have to have like a console. You don't have to have a console, but you can, but mainly for that purpose, you have to join a console. Is that PS5 or nowadays it's PS5 or Xbox Live or whatever, and you have to join your account online. Because my cousin plays a lot of video games as well, but I'm not sure if he does play video games religiously. So the reason is that because it can attract users as there are game deals that are cheap and there are new consoles that are coming out. So, like I said about PS5, that's a new console that's coming out. A Nintendo Switch. I used to have a Nintendo DS when I was younger. I used to be a huge fan of playing Nintendo. I really liked Nintendo. I wasn't a huge fan, but I had a Nintendo DS, which I used to play on all the time. But I still have it. It's very old, and I always wanted to get another Nintendo DS. Maybe a Nintendo Switch, but that's nothing to do with me. So it kind of is advertised for people that want to buy the products. Like I said, I wanted to buy a Nintendo Switch because I was because I remember my when I was younger, I used to play Nintendo DS when I was me and my sister used to play on it, and it's a good way to market your product because you don't have to have a game console. You can have a PC and you just put the disc inside to play a game. Because I had one of my family members used to play a PC game. She could play video games with a PC, and you could play. You could go on websites and you could start playing games, and you could download on your phone as well. So virtual reality is when a person is being placed into a reality world, but they're not literally there because it can give them senses and feelings that they are in a new environment. So you can have virtual reality goggles and you can make films that are meant to be based around VR, designed to for that experience. Because I've watched a few films, but you need goggles. I have tried virtual reality before, but it's kind of my experience with virtual reality is kind of a bit weird, basically, because I've tried it like a couple. I went to this center. It's the same center that I said before about 3D printing, and you get these goggles and you move, and you're literally staring inside that environment, inside that room. The game is telling you. For example, you can play video games and you can watch films and TV shows, but you do need to be mindful of how long you're on it for, because it's not good for your eyes if you keep using these goggles all the time. But I have tried virtual reality. It's quite a very fun experience. I'm not sure if I want to get my own virtual goggles, because they are very expensive as well. So it is the special effects that does all these things, which allows them to interact with their surroundings, for which the virtual goggles provide. So the virtual environment allows you to interact with it. It's a bit like I said about the sensory cinema video, because it can allow you to be in touch with your senses in terms of sight and touch, mainly sight, and because you're seeing the atmosphere, you're seeing in a new light, and can hear that space as well. So, audience is when a business has an audience, their product or promotion in order to make themselves, they need to be able to identify what the target audience may be. So, as I said, the target audience is important for identifying what they are supposed to be. You need to not confuse your audience because you need to be specific. You need to create that product for a specific audience. So this could be something to do with the age gap or gender. So businesses do not want to cause any complications, of which it can be difficult to identify a type of audience you're trying to aim for. So You need, again, as I said, identifying the type of audience you're going for is key for you to be able to promote that brand or to promote your product or to showcase your films or TV show or series, basically, that would draw your audience in and to make them want to watch your film. So, gender is one way of identifying the product for a certain group, but it's not biased unless you're going for both genders. It is biased unless you're going for both genders, which is unbiased. Because if you're creating a brand that has florals, is a floral, like basically if you're creating a perfume that's floral and has a fragrance, floral fragrance, and it's pink and has flowers on it, then that's for women. Basically, you need to advertise for that for women. So one thing that businesses that the business should look at is gender. For gender, is the color scheme. Like if there's something that's pink, it'll be suitable for girls. Blue, mainly suitable for boys. So children and teenagers, especially, they are not to be confused or should have a balance and should be balanced. So age groups are easy for the audience to identify the target audience. So you have a group of people that you want to buy your products. For example, books would give into the right audience. So you need to have the group that you're trying to aim that product for. So the books with pictures with less words should be aimed for infants and children at the nursery age or like early years base or school age, early school age. Like reception year one, year two maybe. So chapter books should be aimed at teenagers and the more grown up books should be aimed at adults. So to conclude this task or this presentation I was supposed to say is that I have basically explained how multimedia can be used to meet business business objectives, and I have covered each point that needs to be explained. And here's the reference that I got this from. So I'm sorry about the interference in the background, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.